So, once again, you are listening to Monologue Dialogue, the podcast that covers monologues in pop culture, whether it be music, musicals, theatrical plays, cinema, that sort of thing. We get into the deeper meaning behind the words and the narrative that's being presented. And joining me today is my very good friend, Marco Saldana. Marco, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Paul. Good evening to you. My name is Marco Saldana. I don't know where do you want me to start with personal history or just take it from
The
in the
floor is
beginning there
yours,
was
buddy.
darkness.
In the beginning, there was Marco Saldana, and he stopped, for
That's
he was happy.
all right. Well, my family is from Brownsville, Texas. That's on the border by the sea. Any further south and you're in Mexico. Grew up there. My mother's side is a little mix of both across the borders. My father's side for sure is from across the border. But little is known about my father's family. We know that they originated from somewhere in ranches of Mexico, but what is known is on my mother's side, which they originate from Salina Cruz, Oaxaca, which is a very coastal state. Very nice place. But yeah, I am the eldest of two others, three total. Born into a world of responsibility. Um, Went to school all my life in Brownsville, Texas. High school, college. Went into nursing. Um, been in the medical field ever since high school, to be honest with you. Did all that health science technology stuff. And I originally wanted to do radiology. Didn't have the math scores for it. Go figure. But nursing, no, it turns out nursing was my true calling. Graduated in 2011 with my BSN. Went off to Austin. Everybody in a small town likes to go to Austin.
Yeah,
And
we all try Austin at least once in our lives.
exactly, yeah, at least once. I was lived there for about 5 years. A year into living the Austin life, I said, you know what? I'm gonna live out my dream and join the army. Pursued a commission. Got a commission as an officer in the nurse corps. Uh, 2012, December 15th, 2012, and might have been December 5th. I mixed those dates. But yeah, no, everything else after that, military. That's where I met the great Paul Nicolosi a few years later. I know, be still my beating heart.
Stop, you're embarrassing me.
Oh my gosh. I've been in the nursing field for well over 12 years since 2008, since I got my license in LVN and now, doing our first trial run here with the podcasting endeavor. So,
Yeah, we are definitely a baptism by fire, is how I would describe it. Although
that
you and I have been kicking around this idea for, uh, dang, probably a year at this point at least. And
it has been a year,
I had this
yes.
opportunity to take a wonderful class, and I said to myself, you know what, I'll be the guinea pig. I bumped the mic. That's see, I'm learning. I'm getting my education on this. I'll be the guinea
Yeah.
pig. I'll make the mistakes, and then in the end of it, I'll just make you look good. Kind of like how our military careers were, right? I'm just there to make the officers look good, right, buddy?
Well, to be honest, man, you gotta let the soldiers run with their cockamamie ideas. You can't let them go too far because then they'll burn stuff down.
Yeah, yeah.
But allow those flights of fancy, and I swear they move mountains.
You're not wrong. That's strong leadership advice. If we should have had a leadership podcast, what can I say? Let them spin their tires a little bit, and every once in a while to hit the right direction, right?
Yeah, yeah, once in a while.
Well, it is so wonderful to have you here with me, so we can sit down and discuss great monologues. And I know when I pitched this idea to you, it was kind of like, what? Like, really?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I,
Who?
yeah, who? Huh? Me? What? What topic?
To the where? How many cookies? What happened?
Yes, I bribed you with cookies.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so I'm really excited that you're here with me to discuss this because it's not necessarily about the narrative; it's about the deeper meaning. What was the artist who wrote the narrative or the actor who
Yeah.
portrayed the narrative? What were they trying to say with this particular piece? And I think there's a lot of rich lore and history involved in that, and of course the emotional connection to seeing a brilliant performance is truly what moves me personally. And as it turns out, you're kind of a nerd for that too, as well as a history nerd, and I
Yeah.
know enough to get in trouble. So,
Ah.
uh, well, why don't we go ahead and move on into some of these harder hitting questions that I may have
Oh
sprung
my.
on you last minute. I'm sorry about that, but
Already. We're gonna move into it. All right.
hey, got to start somewhere, right? Uh,
Yeah. And
so, what's your personal connection with Monologue? Did any specific one make you fall in love with storytelling or acting or theater or cinema in general?
well, you know, when you first asked me, or when you first told me that we were going to be covering monologues, it was kind of a, oh, what, and out of just nowhere, and it made me really put me on the spot to think, because there's so many good movies out there with some really good monologues and decent speeches overall. Now, what I like, particular ones that I like the most are the villain ones. My two favorite happen to be from A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, Colonel Jessup. Yeah, that
Yeah.
courtroom scene.
You're
Yeah,
making me want to
yeah,
do an impression, and you and I both know I'm bad at
yeah.
impressions.
Do you want the truth? All that good stuff. It was a good one, right?
You
The
want
more
me on
recent.
that wall. You need me on that wall.
It's a classic, you know.
Absolutely.
That one is one of my favorite ones, and then the more recent one that I personally liked the most was the Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker when he's being interviewed by Ra. Oh my gosh, help me out here.
Use your words. I believe in you.
I'm trying.
uh,
Well,
are are
when
you
he's being
talking?
interviewed,
Are you talking about the latest one, Faux de Folie,
yeah.
or
No. The first one by Joaquin
oh,
Phoenix,
oh
Joker.
goodness. I gotta be honest. I've slept since then. I can't remember who he was talking. I do remember the interview. I don't remember the specifics. I know I'm not very good at
What?
yes anding right now, but I'm also incredibly honest.
No. Well, you know, we were talking about uh, Goodfellas, the wise guys.
Ah, sure.
Yeah. Who else?
Oh,
Not
oh,
Robert, not Robert Downey Jr.
Robert De Niro.
What's Robert De Niro when he's being interviewed by Robert De Niro.
Yeah, yeah.
If I had them
My
all right there.
my Italian's coming out. I have it. I don't know. And
So, but no, when he's being interviewed, you know, and then Joaquin Phoenix starts to say, "You're terrible, Murray." You know, he was on the Murray Show. That's the one.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and you just see him slowly give in to the dark side and just slowly commit to this villainous side of him, and the way he just portrays society that turned him into this, you know, this thing, and then boom, it just blows the guy's brains. quite the uh, quite the speech, quite the climax, you would say, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a punchline.
Yeah.
I would Buntis. uh, thank you for sharing that. That actually is I. It's funny. I'm almost embarrassed that I'm sitting there like I don't remember who he was interviewed by. I'm seriously thinking about the second movie where he's being interviewed on television, and it's in my opinion not as good as the first one, but it's the one I saw most recently. So you're like talking about an interview, and I'm thinking like a one-on-one interview. And no, you're
It
talking about the
was
late night
technically.
show, the Murray show.
Yeah, no, the Murray Show. Yeah, and he's being interviewed by Murray, but Robert De Niro. I was gonna say Robert Downey Jr.
Bobby,
Totally
we call him
swinging the left
Bobby.
field.
We call him Bobby here. So
Ah,
yeah,
Bobby.
yeah,
Thank you.
or Bobbert.
I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna write
Bobbert
that down,
is
Bobby.
his formal name. Uh, moving on. Why do you think monologues have such an enduring impact in pop culture? And when I mean this, do I mean is it the writing, the delivery, or is it something deeper for you?
Well, that's a great question. Uh, I don't know if it's exactly the pop culture at a point in time, but the writing and definitely the delivery that gives it a deeper meaning. Um, Everybody goes through stuff at a point in time in their lives. Now, you might not remember the times per se, but you remember that point in time. Uh, one of the one of my favorite movie lines was Kingdom of Heaven. It came out, I don't know, about 2002, 2003
Is
ish.
that the Alexander the Great one? Or am I
Yeah.
thinking of no? Oh man,
Oh yeah, no,
I have to
it
write
had a
that down.
Orlando Bloom in it and a few other really good characters. But towards the end of the movie, you have basically Muslim and Christian adversaries who are now, I guess, what you could say, friends at the end of a great battle. And the Muslim asks Orlando Bloom, "Hey, and if God didn't love you, how could you have done all that you have done?"
Mm,
And it was just one of those lines. And for me, at that point in time, I was going through particular spiritual turmoil, so to speak. And that particular movie had so many great lines that just kind of stuck with me because of that point in time. So it's definitely the delivery of the actor. It just shows their skill, how to portray human emotion. But ultimately, for me, what makes a great monologue stick with you is a point in time in your life when you're going through something. And that movie, just like a good song, you know, speaks to you.
so much like with all the political and societal turmoil of the last 5 years or so, Joker hit the entire nation right in the feels.
Definitely, yes, right in the fields.
Yeah, yeah. We're hip to the current lingo on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I got that, the definitions and all this stuff, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No cap.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Moving
Uh,
on.
let's go ahead and move on. Yeah. For which monologue stands out to you the most iconic of all time, and why?
The Colonel Jessup, that courtroom, in a few good men. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Just that tirade that he goes on. The anger, and I believe they caught it all on one take. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
Which is impressive. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Just in one go. And just the fact that he was able to nail it. Oh, no, 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 not all in one take, but they did it so much, so often that just poor Jack Nicholson was exhausted by the end.
I'd
It's
imagine.
crazy.
I'd imagine. I like to think that it was all in one take, and it's A Few Good Men is also a stage show. So could you imagine doing that without messing up? Someone actually like screws up a little bit, and then someone else walks out on the stage and is like, "Hey, can we back it up a little bit? Can you run that line of
Hey,
dialogue one more time?"
just kidding. Let's do that again. Back from the top.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Uh,
can see why they throw hissy fits.
so let's talk about performance. What's a monologue that you feel maybe couldn't have stood the test of time without a specific actor's delivery?
Well, one of the best ones that I recently saw that you actually when we were talking about the idea of this, and it's one that I hadn't heard in a long time, but The Great Dictator with the Charlie Chaplin. That one.
Yeah.
That one is so iconic. That one is just filled with power, so much meaning. And then at that point in time, as you so eloquently educated me, they had no idea what was going on in Nazi Germany during World War II and all the heinous things that the Germans were doing. As he was wearing that off-brand swastika stuff and looked like Adolf Hitler. That was definitely pow right on the nose there. Uh, and then after that, just what he went through. but the speech that he delivered, was incredible. It's just something that stuck with me. And when you pitched it to me, I was like, wow, yeah, that one is one of the best monologues. Like the shining example for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, slow down, buddy. You're stealing my thunder on that one. So,
Sorry.
if we haven't clued you guys in yet, the main plan for this show is each one of us pitches a new monologue each week, or maybe we do comparing notes on how we identified with it. It might even be a homework assignment for us, and then we go ahead and listen to it. And oh boy, you took a good one from me. Oh man, I'll get you back for this, Marco. I'll get you back for this. I know where you
So,
live.
likewise, I do know who yours is.
Oh,
I know that specific room too. Yeah.
all right, knife fight at dawn. Uh, so I think that's actually a fantastic example, and I do want to mention something about that specifically. You mentioned that I mentioned. It's funny. You mentioned that there was no knowledge of what was going on in Nazi Germany. They had no idea of the concentration camps and all the horrors that were going on. To the rest of the world, Adolf Hitler just seemed like this silly, kooky man who was, oh, he wanted Poland. Oh, he wanted this. I mean, it was a little more serious than that. But when you see him on stage orating to his masses, and he's, I'm not going to do.
He made the cover of Time magazine once upon a time. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The world had no idea how truly heinous he and the Nazi Party was. And for that to hit so squarely, I mean, that speech, that monologue, to hit so squarely on the nose, it had to be one of the most serendipitous, romantic, rhyming points in history I have ever seen. And I wasn't there for it, of course. Looking back on it, we have that benefit of hindsight. So I'm glad you brought that one up. I won't come to your house later.
Well, it's just when we were talking about this particular assignment and where it was going to lead. That is the first thing that was an example of, and we both had seen it, and I had to go back and rewatch it to be like, holy hell, yeah, yeah, this is like wow, and I know we're gonna break that one down a little bit more later on, but I just couldn't help myself. You said one is one of the greatest ones that stood the test of time, and
Yep, there
golden
it
standard.
is. So you mentioned favorite villain monologues. I can't remember. Did you happen to name your favorite villain one? Was it the Joker, or was it the Colonel Jessup, or is there another one that really grips you?
Say that again. It kind of glitched.
Oh, apologies, technical difficulties. I'm learning.
Yeah.
As far as villain monologues, was there a specific one that truly gripped you? If it has to be a toss up between Colonel Jessup from A Few Good Men and the Joker, or another one, which one really stands out to you?
Oh man, I gotta say Colonel Jessup is my favorite one. Because just the way he was going on at that power trip, and the way he just did not like being talked down to. He did not like explaining himself, and in the end, I mean, if you really think about it, he thought he had done right. You know, killing a kid,
Yeah.
terrible, right? Yeah, killing off the weak link.
Killing
But I mean, in his mind, yeah, I know. I mean, trimming the herd there.
sure.
But for him, he was, justified in all of his actions. And you see this guy that God knows what he had done throughout his military career to rise up to that level. And then in that movie, I don't know if you recall, but he was being considered for a prestigious position within the Pentagon. So if he had done that to one guy, and let's just say there's a few others, because usually there's more than one skeleton, imagine what he could have done at a even higher level of power.
Yeah, and that's probably the truly scariest part of that. Like, if I were to compare the Joker to Colonel Jessup, which is like apples to oranges, right? The Joker is
Yeah,
scary,
yeah, yeah.
but it's fiction, and it's very hard fiction to overcome, right? Whereas Colonel
Yeah.
Jessup, I'm not gonna get into the military
He's real.
history and all that fun
He's
stuff.
real.
He's
You
real.
you've seen it.
Those people
Yeah,
exist. There are
they do.
people who see that film, see that portrayal, and say, "That's me." And you're damn right. You need me on that wall. Like they wear it as a badge of honor. And the entire message just completely washes beyond them. Like it passes over them, and they can't come to terms with how terrible they can be. So I agree
It's
with you.
true.
I agree with you. Colonel Jessup is far more scary, far more gripping. And looking back on it, I mean, we look back on A Few Good Men and we're just like, it's a boring courtroom drama. No, it's not. No, it is.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is
Yeah, but
fascinatingly gripping, and it had
man.
an impactful message. And that's probably one we're gonna have to talk more about.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dig into that one.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull a hard left turn here, which I know you're not used to with me. What about comedic monologues? Do they get enough credit for their impact? Is there any specific one you could think of?
Oh man, I'm a big drama guy, not because I love, get it, not because I bring drama. I try not to, but
No,
as a good human being,
it's
who
my
doesn't
job.
like a little bit of good drama? But no, I don't think comedic monologues do get a lot of credit. Particularly now these days, there's just so much politics that go into it. Everybody's got an agenda that they're pursuing, and it's hard to find one that is really talking about something useful or something that just hits home. But just today, actually, I was looking at from and when it first started coming out, I used to. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I kind of lost you there for about half a minute. But you were talking about. Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, my video kind of disconnected there and reconnected. Weird.
Yeah, yeah. No, I lost you for a good half minute. But you were talking about um, something in your past or your history there. If you can pick up from that.
Right. So Bill Maher, when his show first came out, I remember it was under the Bush administration.
Hmm.
And we had the second Iraq War, all kinds of stuff, and then President Bush himself, he was just kind of a goofy guy. So the jokes were interesting and funny, and they wrote themselves, and then later on, for me, it just turned into something crazy. Way too leftist. There's I don't know. I stopped watching, but recently he had a dinner at the White House with Donald Trump,
Hmm.
and it was interesting to watch him just recall the events of that night. Because everybody sees and everybody's afraid in one way or another of the craziness that our commander in chief does, right? Crazy guy with the button. Oh my God, what's he gonna do? But in this particular moment, you see Bill Maher and Donald Trump, two very polar opposite people, who both told each other, I really don't want to be here. Me neither, but we're here. So let's make the most of it. And at some point, they like any human beings, they found common ground. And, he painted a very different picture from what we're used to seeing, you know, in real life. And even Bill Maher himself said, I don't know why he acts crazy in front of people. And you and I have known folks that do that. But then one on one, they're just, decent human beings. And you're like, whoa. So that was a particular monologue that I saw recently. That wasn't really a monologue, but it was just him talking about the events of that night, Bill Maher, and how, needless to say, impressed he was that Donald Trump was in fact human.
Uh, for sure. Yeah. No, actually, what's really funny about this, when I think about comedic monologues, I mostly come up with late night talk shows. You're giving a performer an opportunity to to have the floor. You know, you got your Conan O'Brien's, your Jay Leno's,
Jay
your
Leno's a classic. Yeah.
uh, yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Bill Maher and political monologues, because one that sticks out to me since you mentioned George W. is uh, Jon Stewart on his original run of The Daily Show. And this was, I'll take you back in time, kids,
Yeah.
re-election, 2004, indecision, 2004, right, on The Daily Show. And I just remember Jon Stewart. I mean, that entire show was mostly monologue from start to finish, right? It's his show. It's, you got other performers coming in and doing skits and making light of something, but this was something very serious. We were a nation that had just entered a major conflict post the biggest attack on U.S. soil, if not the it set history forward for generations. We'll say
For our generation, we were just kids at the time, man.
for sure, man. My parents were probably like, "What are you doing watching that liberal stuff?" I self censored. I did it.
Stuff, yeah,
I don't have to
stuff.
edit. So but I just remember Jon Stewart having a very heart to heart, just looking directly at the camera, and it's zoomed in on him, and he's just imploring the American people, uh, don't make my job easy the next 4 years. Don't vote him back into office. And so you mentioned how goofy George Bush was, regardless of whether or not you agree with his handling of our entrance into Iraq and Afghanistan. Lord knows we could have a whole separate podcast about the last 20-year conflict that we've been in this nation. Uh, that line has always stuck with me. It was so impactful. It was the perfect punctuation to very much, you could tell he wasn't just doing this for a bit. It wasn't part of the show. And if I'd imagine if that Jon Stewart from 20 years ago saw what we were dealing with now, what he was dealing with back in the seat, he'd probably be like, "Yeah, Bush is fine. Let's keep him." but
It's like that was nothing.
but at the time, you can tell that this was very raw and emotional for him, and he's imploring the voters before election night, "Make my job
Yeah.
hard. Vote for Kerry." Right. So, and we all know how great Kerry was.
Yeah.
He wasn't a
The
very
rest
good
was
choice.
history.
So,
Yeah.
but let's not get political. I just, to me, I'm glad you mentioned Bill Maher, because
But see,
it
you remember it was a
hit that
point
link.
in time, right? And you
Yeah,
remember that. Like, yeah, yeah. That was a crazy
absolutely,
time.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
just noticed Hades in the background there, by the way.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's over there giving me the dirty leg. Like, hey, come on, play with me.
Well, we'll go ahead and try and wrap this up. I just have a few more questions, and then we'll get you
All
back
right.
to your dog. He's a beautiful dog.
Thank you.
If let's say you were the actor, right? If you could perform a monologue on stage or screen, which would it be and why?
Hmm. Well, to be honest, I've done a little bit of Colonel Jessup in real life. Yeah, I have neither the
I
time
do
nor the
remember.
inclination.
I
That
do
is
remember my
verbatim.
times with Major Saldana, Major now, tip of the hat.
Thank
But I knew you as lieutenant, then captain, and I have absolutely gotten to witness that side of you.
It does exist. He doesn't come out often, but he does come out. He's come out a few times. But there's this one time in the healthcare setting where I was having a one-to-one with a particular individual that uh, had no idea they were about to commit harm to someone. In their mind, their actions were justified wholly and unequivocally. They were just like, "This is it because of this. The book says it. It's from the book. There is no wrong answer. It's from the book." We've heard that before, right? It's
Oh
from
yeah,
the book.
it's my favorite default for people
Yeah,
who don't know how to defer to expertise or think outside the box.
and I had to explain to them, like, look, you This course of action, you determined it at the beginning of the day. You had all day to come and ask, to clarify, to do anything and everything. And no, you chose to commit to this action, knowing full well that you are wrong. But just because this book says one thing and you're taking it out of context, and there, right there, I have neither the time nor the inclination to cram a year and a half worth of, pharmacology and medical surgical nursing into a few minutes. I have I had I had what, like 10 weeks at that time to cram into this one individual 12 years of nursing knowledge and experience. When it was just difficult, and still they couldn't see the error of the ways. Just like Colonel Jessup. Then it wasn't until I had to just say, you know what, I've done what I can. Good luck to you.
And so that's when you hit them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd like to think nursing itself is striking them back here and now, because it's hard. It's hard, especially when you're dealing with folks. When you deal with people for a living, you don't want to cause harm, but it's difficult. But yeah, no, that I did use that line. That line just came out of me to flow naturally. I haven't needed the time nor the inclination to explain myself to you.
It's frightening, and I can't wait to see it again. I'm a glutton for punishment, guys. uh, Real quick, rapid fire. Favorite monologue in a drama? If you say Colonel Jessup, I'm gonna laugh.
No, Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. I like it.
Yeah, classic.
We kind of talked about comedy. Well, let me ask you: do you have a favorite monologue in a comedy that we haven't talked about yet?
Yes, we do. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Whenever he explains the crime scene, they just literally rapid fires the whole thing. Yeah.
Finkel is Einhorn.
Einhorn
is
Finkel.
Oh my god. Einhorn is a man.
Man.
Oh my god. Einhorn is a man. Oh.
The scene with the plunger, man.
This right here is why I needed you on this show.
Yeah.
If nobody else likes this, I like to imagine that we'll show it to our children and our children's children one day.
They're gonna be like, "You guys are silly."
Grandpa, this is weird.
Yeah.
Can I go play Spaceball? Shut up, Billy. You need to watch my YouTube.
Why couldn't you show your butthole like Grandma? It's like, oh, that's a whole different thing right there.
We weren't gonna tell the audience about that. Oh, this is going up unedited. An animated film or show?
Oh my gosh, animated film or show. I like anime, but there's just all of anime are like simultaneous monologues happening at the same time. All of Dragon Ball, there'd be like 20-minute monologues before the fighting scene, and it was only like 7 minutes worth of fighting. But I can't for the life of me remember.
Somehow in my heart of hearts, I knew you were going to say Dragon Ball.
you know it as well as I do.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Aside from the original Japanese, what you don't know is the next best way to hear Dragon Ball, watch Dragon Ball. It's Spanish.
Yeah, no, I do know that. I have seen it.
Yes.
I had some friends growing up from Colombia who they were very similar to the figures that they were selling in America at the time, except the hair pieces could actually interchange and they were better built. And I feel like they took the model and they would, I'm going on a weird side tangent here. I'm sorry, but
this folks is our next idea of shows. Hey, more to come.
Yeah, more to come on that podcast. They took these models and then they created new toys, but they didn't have interchangeable pieces. They didn't, and it was like, we'll sell more toys this way to the children. because that's what they like to do is spending money with us, and it just felt super skeezy. But yes, to
I'm still
answer your
talking about
question,
Dragon Ball.
yes, we're no, we're talking about Transformers. Keep up, Marco.
Oh Jesus! Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Good Friday. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's Good Friday on a Monday.
I
I
was
don't
like,
know when
it's
I'm
Monday.
recording this right now.
Uh-huh.
What day is it? What year is it? Uh, all right. A movie made before 1980. I know it's a tough one. You got to put on your thinking cap.
Actually, I do have one, but it's not from American cinema.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was from the golden age, the latter half of the golden age of Mexican cinema. And if you've never seen Mexican cinema, it's all black and white. And it was called Marcelino Panivino. It's about an orphan boy.
Mm,
And quite literally, his thing, just like Jesus at the Last Supper with, wine and the bread. And there's the ending where the protagonist Marcelino, the little kid, uh, he without giving all of the plot of the movie, but he's literally talking to God, but he doesn't know it's God.
it came out before 1980. They've had time to not be spoiled.
so so it's just the way God is speaking to him, and trying to explain how the things are in the world. And then at the end of the movie, you just kind of see, the kid transitioning and leaving this world. Literally, he's with God, and the monks bust in to find him gone in
Mm,
front of a statue figure of, Jesus on the cross. It's just but I remember distinctly, because I grew up on the border, and it was real common to get those Mexican channels. And that movie, Marcelino Panivino, it's very pretty. It's it hits you in the feels, and it's just a show. I mean, a movie about innocence. Real true innocence, and it hurts. And, it's a really good movie.
I honestly, you're selling me on this
How
one.
you didn't see it coming, did you? It's like, what's he gonna talk about? I don't know. Pooh.
I am so sold on this. I'm inviting myself back over to your house so we can have a movie
How
night
does it
and
go?
watch it.
How right in the kisser.
How about a movie after the year 2000, the far off distant future of the year 2000?
you, Kingdom of Heaven. There's not a lot of monologues,
That's
but
the
there's a
Alex the
few.
Great movie, right?
No, dude, no. This was during the Crusades. Totally different time period. Oh man, I'm gonna have a
Are
field
you
day with
thinking
you.
about a 13th Warrior?
No, man, this is Crusades, Knights Templar, all that's 13th Warrior.
Doesn't ring a bell. Anyway, I'm sorry, continue.
I'm outside God's grace. I have lost my religion. You know, that Orlando Bloom and the monk going back and forth. I don't place a lot of stock in religion. By the word religion, I've seen the lunacy and fanatics of every denomination be called the word of God.
Mm.
Da 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 da. It's really good stuff. Really good stuff. Kingdom of Heaven, you got to see it.
That was embarrassing, and it was probably picked up by the audio. My alarm went off because it's time to tell my wife to take her meds. I am a doting husband, I'll have you know. But here at Monologue Dialogue, we don't edit out mistakes like that because this is just real
Don't.
life, baby, and I'm learning.
It's
I'm
real
going
life.
through my journey. Marco's going
You,
through his journey.
you,
We're all in it.
you could do it like, what is it, Meet the Fockers? Robert De Niro going, hey, woman, they gotta give me a sandwich. Just yelling at the glass door. Take your meds.
No,
That's gonna go
I don't want to
great.
peek. I
It's a
don't want to
female
peek the
based.
mic. uh, so let's go ahead and close it out. What should people pay more attention to when they're watching a great monologue? Is it body language, pacing, subtext, whole package? What are you looking for there?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of the whole package. The subtext, you could pick up on the subtext with the emotion. You could pick up on the subtleties of the gestures. The one that I come back to was you think Colonel Jessup, but now the Joker and Joaquin Phoenix. He starts off all happy, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden it comes out, just it turns. You got to watch those little nuances, those little bits. That's what makes a great monologue. Great monologue. Just the emotion that comes out.
I couldn't agree more, Marco. Are there any monologues that you feel are ripe for revival or reinterpretation today?
Well, I've already mentioned one. You got mad. So why am I going to mention it again? But you know what? That's for forgiveness, right? Dude, what if they brought back the great dictator? Who's got the good spot to bring that one back? Revive that sucker.
I'm gonna be the guy to tell you they actually halfway did it. So you
halfway did it.
Yeah. The movie Chaplin, right? Robert Downey Jr. Not Bobbert De Niro. Robert Downey Jr. portrayed Chaplin through various stages of his life.
Yes. No, but no, one of ours nowadays. One of the new generation. Not Robert Downey Jr. He's a good guy.
Robert Downey Jr. is cross-cultural, my friend. He breaks boundaries everywhere. He ethnic
exactly.
and age.
But he's older now. He's clearly we grew up with him. He grew up with us.
Because he made Dr. Dolittle and you didn't like it.
I did not. It's one of my least favorites, sadly. Yeah.
All right. You know what? I agree with you, and no one would have the stones to attempt it. That's if it were made now, it'd have to be a parody of real life events, and I don't think we're. That's not fair. That's not fair to state that. I was you got me on a side tangent now, man. This was
a world war.
This was supposed to be a 20-minute video, but I was gonna say something along I was gonna say something along the lines of I don't think that we have the subtlety within us now as they did back in the 1930s to be able to handle something as responsibly like that. But you know what? New movies come out all the time, and that's also an absolutism, and I don't like speaking in absolutes. So I hope it happens.
Yeah, you Sith Lord. Let's not do that.
You got me.
The lightsaber.
Oh boy.
If we could talk about Star Wars, that'd be great.
We should have made a Star Wars podcast. Can I say?
Next time, yeah.
We put that on the free time. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. Yeah. What are you doing?
A few things. I still got homework to do too, Paul.
Booty. Okay. So, final question for you: what's a monologue that you would love to see parodied or remixed in pop culture?
Oh gosh. Well, if they could remaster The Great Dictator, I don't know. I would just like to see, one of the younger generation try to tackle one of those. Like, we're talking new actors. What's that guy that just did the newest Spider-Man? Tom Holland?
Tom Holland.
Yeah, can you imagine Tom Holland with the little Hitler stash and the sash?
I don't want to get us into too much trouble early into this, but are you insinuating that Tom Holland looks like a young Adolf Hitler?
You took that from that, but no, I was saying could he pull off a Hitler stash?
No.
See?
I don't think Hitler pulled off the Hitler stash, to be honest with you. I think it's just a horrible look for people.
And yet it became a trend back in the 30s and 40s.
What were people thinking? That's what we do here at Monologue Dialogue. We hit the hard-hitting... we ask the hard-hitting questions. What were they thinking back then?
If we had some sound effects to go, right here would be like or something.
Yeah, it's a really good thing we don't have those.
The Law and Order dun dun for some weird reason. Great.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna hit me with the one of the sound emojis that we have here.
I thought about it, but I was like, no. Let the audience just internalize that Law and Order.
Imagine the losing sound from The Price is Right, and that's what we're both feeling right now. So, well, I want to thank you for sharing this time with me, especially so late at night or morning or afternoon. You don't know when we're recording, audience. Uh,
Yeah.
but I do want to thank you for your time and your patience with me as I stumble through this process, and now we can stumble
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. My connectivity issues too.
Yeah. So before we close it out, I do just want to let the audience know you can catch us here on this platform, YouTube, at the moment. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. It means so much to us. It's my call to action, and I wanted to bring it to you right now. I also show you how the sauce is made, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, so go ahead and hit that bell, subscribe, whatever the kids say on the YouTubes. And yeah, we will catch you later. Marco, do you have anything final to say before we cut out?
No, hey, thanks for having me on. It was fun, and look forward to some more.
Yeah, me too. It was absolutely my pleasure, and I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this. And thank you for joining me on this crazy adventure, buddy.
Hey, thanks so much.
Are we both captains of this ship?
I would say you're definitely you're the captain now. Yes,
I'm the captain
I'm
now.
just the first
But
mate.
but if the ship were going down, we'd, we'd both we'd both be there, right? Like we'd go down with the ship.
No, no, you'd go down with the ship. I'd be the officer who, stands on the lifeboat. Get back, you dogs.
You're the guy at the end of 300 where I turn to you and I say, "You can't fight with one eye, but tell them our story."
He was ostracized when he got back. Yeah, it
Um,
went terrible for
I'm
him.
sure he was. All right, we're gonna cut it off here before we start a whole nother episode about 300. Man, that's some great monologuing in that movie.
Oh my
Uh,
god, yeah.
Go ahead and subscribe, hit like, and thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Bye bye.